name is Matija. I am Chief Operating Officer of DHH. Let's say this is DHH in numbers. So we are a group of technology companies, more specifically, a group of internet technology companies. And let's say we're talking about hosting companies, cloud companies, we're talking about business-to-business ISPs, and lately we're also adding managed service providers in the mix. So, yes. Yeah, thanks. Okay, so our story began in 2015. Actually, when we founded the DHH, the founding companies were a champion from Slovenia, Croatia, and Italy. And immediately after that, we made an IPO on the Italian stock exchange. And we went public, we raised the capital, and then we reinvested this capital into growth. So we acquired a lot of companies along the way. We consolidated some, we left others, or let's say we are promoting or developing others that became standalone companies. Today, we are more or less a 40 million euro company. 2025 numbers haven't been released yet because, I mean, we're a publicly traded company, so we cannot talk about this beforehand, but more or less this is the range we are talking about. But more important is what is DHH and how does DHH do what we do. It's important to understand, I already touched on this subject, but it already begins at the beginning when we start talking to a company that we would like to acquire. We treat the counterparty as a collaborator because we know that we will be working with them in the long term. So we are not squeezing for the lowest price, they are not squeezing for the highest price, but we are talking about, let's say, fair valuation, and most of the discussion is about what will happen after the acquisition. So first point is that we are treating the counterparty as a collaborator. This actually links into the next thing that we are doing, and it is that we are a conglomerate of independent companies. So whoever we acquire, we actually treat as a completely separate company. We do standardize on the financial part, we do standardize on the back end, but let's say the strategy, the products that are being sold, the approach to the market, the geographies that the company wants to be in, this is something that we talk with the CEO, this is something that we talk about with the founders, and we support them in this growth. So this is the way that we produce this. And the last point is that we are actually not pushing anything top down. So we are not saying this is the brands that you should use, this is the people that you should hire, but we actually leave the companies to decide on themselves. What we are doing is we are actually pushing them to get together, to discuss different topics. We have different events through the year where we ask them to attend, they exchange the ideas, and the synergies actually come by themselves because the CEOs, the tech guys, the marketing guys, they talk among themselves, and then they come up with proposed projects that are done within the group, with all the group, with some companies in the group, and so on. So this is the way we approach the issues. Okay, this is DHH today. As I said, these are 2024 numbers. We have a really high EBITDA margin, which we are really proud of. And the most important number I have already highlighted. So more than 90% of all our revenues are recurring. So they are, let's say, they are contracts based, and we get them every year. There are currently 10 companies in the group. I mean, there were more companies. We consolidated some. And currently we are at 10 companies, and as you can see, the most revenue we're actually making from cloud computing and cloud hosting and connectivity. So why would a prospective company actually choose DHH over let's say private equity funding or venture capital? The most important thing is that we're actually not overlapping here. So we're not looking for companies in the early stage where they're actually starting up. We're not looking for, let's say, high-risk investment, but we are looking for established businesses that are, let's say, on that SME level, that want to scale, that want to develop, and that need support with this. So this rules out the venture capital. The private equity actually targets bigger businesses. So as I said, we're targeting businesses between a couple of 100,000 euros in revenue to a couple of million euro in revenue, and usually these types of businesses are not so interested for private equity. So there's more or less no overlap. But more than that, I mean, we don't have an investment horizon. We are in it for the long term. Let's say as a co-founder of the company, and also other board members are there because they want to see DHH develop as a group. So we don't have this, let's say, time horizon of 3 or 5 years and want to get out with a return on investment. We have a long-term view. The second thing is that as I said, we let you keep your brand, we let you keep your products. We do discuss with you about what is profitable, what is not. Sometimes the discussions are hard, but in the end, it's about the CEO, it's about the founder making the final decision. Another point is that, let's say, my background is in computer science. The other founders, the other directors, they are, let's say, electrical engineers, they are CFOs with more than 20 years of experience in the area, in the industry. So talking with us actually means talking to people that know what you do. That's why our due diligence process is simpler. That's why our, let's say, quarterly and yearly meetings are much simpler, because we see if the person on the other side knows what they're talking about, and it's much easier to consult with us because of that. And last, we are a publicly listed group. So anybody, a prospective company that wants to join DHH, can check us out, can see our valuation, can see our numbers, can see our annual report. I mean, it's difficult to hide anything, and we don't even want to. But this way, it's much simpler to actually communicate who we are, what we do, and let's say what is our value on the market. If we go into detail, I mean, how we do these things, we're actually able to support the company in all of their phases of development. So in the beginning, when they have a stable cash flow, they are a company that is producing value, but it's a small company that wants to scale. We can support you in that phase. We can support you in the maturity phase, when the question is about organization, it's about efficiency, it's about how to improve the company in the environment. And also, I mean, we call it the rebirth phase, but it can be anything. It can be a company that actually is past its peak and is actually in need of a turnaround, of a shock treatment, or it's a company on the peak that actually is looking for the next wave of business coming in, which is actually also the subject of a short case study that I have in the next few slides. So, I don't want to go into detail what we are doing, but we can support, we did and we are supporting the companies on, let's say, setting the strategy, business planning, which is usually the problem with smaller companies, how you structure a business plan, how you see into the next year, into the next 3 years. We also actually support companies doing their own M&A. So if they want to buy a company consolidated in their own company, we're able to support them with experience, with financing and so on. We do talent development. We have a leadership program. We call them tech and marketing summits, where we bring all the people together and let them, let's say, discuss what they're doing, the presentations and so on. We go to each of the companies 2 times a year to see how and what they're doing. So we have a lot of this activity intra-group to get the people together. We are also working on governance, on sourcing. We actually trained and found, let's say, CEOs of a couple of our companies. And one of the last, let's say, success stories is also managing succession, because a founder of one of the companies actually retired. So we were able to install a new president of the board, because, let's say, the successors, because it was a family business, it is a family business, the successors were not ready. So we're actually supporting them in the role as members of the board of directors. So this is what we're doing. Okay, now let's make a short, let's say, switch, because everybody is talking. I need to talk about AI. These are some numbers. I mean, I always get a bit, let's say, lightheaded when I look at these numbers, because they're so big, but they're important actually just to set the context of what we're discussing here. So, I mean, if you think that this is a bubble or not, if you think that the bubble will burst or not, it's important to remember that AI is not just large language models, it's not just generative AI. but it's also all the, let's say, machine learning, all the old algorithms that are being developed and that have been developed for the last 10, 15 years, and that are actually more or less already running our lives. If you book a ticket, an airline ticket, if you use Google Maps, if you do anything, there are algorithms running below this which also use AI. And it's important to know, even if the bubble bursts, I mean, the value is there, it's undeniable. So something along these lines will happen. And for our case study, for one of our companies, I use this slide just to highlight that, let's say, more or less now it's 5 years ago, we started doing some experimenting, we started doing some proof of concepts and so on. And the company that actually is doing this is called CWeb. It's an Italian company. And this is the story of CWeb in, let's say, 3 little phases. It actually began in the 90s as a small ISP provider that then switched to a hosting company, that then in 2008, more or less, started as a, let's say, reshape themselves or transform themselves into a cloud company, which actually allowed them to scale very fast and very strong. But then, as I said, let's say 5 years ago, they started with a project regarding AI. They made a lot of proof of concept, they made a lot of different tests, and let's say when ChatGPT was released, they were actually in a very good position to actually offer the services. They were actually featured in a Gartner chart as one of the companies doing AI, and these are the products that they actually have. So we're talking about GPU as a service. So they have their own data centers in Frosinone, near Rome in Italy, in Milan. And let's say this is a typical product that is offered also by hyperscalers. So if you need a GPU for rent, you can go to them, you can take it, you can buy it online, and they can provision a machine with GPUs. This is, let's say, I would say the simplest product, but it's not simple in reality. The next one, they have also serverless GPUs product. What does that mean? That means that if you have your own cloud servers, that if you have your own Kubernetes clusters, you're able to attach a remote virtual GPU from their data center, use it as compute, but still use your own infrastructure to actually run the models, to train the models and so on. So you can do this with them. Then we have another service called MPU Cloud Server. If you know, machine learning actually has two very distinct phases. So we have the training phase, which requires, let's say, a lot of compute, let's say latest technology, while the inference phase, the phase that is actually using the model that you use, is not actually as compute intensive, so you can actually use another type of processor that is much cheaper to operate, much more efficient, and this is also a service that they have. The last one I like most, but it's actually a complete AI platform, so we're talking everything from large language models to stable diffusion to RAG to everything. And it can be accessed completely, let's say, through API. So, for example, if you have your own application, you can use their services directly through an OpenAI compatible API, and use it, let's say, as a drop-in replacement for OpenAI or Grok or whatever services you have there. So I know there's a lot of, let's say, technical speak there, but what I wanted to say is that we have a company in Europe that is part of DHH Group that managed to produce services that are, let's say, on par also from the price point perspective, but also from the let's say, technology level that they are on par with other companies that are, let's say, in US or China, which is very important. And my point here is that, let's say, DHH is a good incubator for these types of ideas, for these types of companies, and let's say we would be happy to hear from you if you have a company in mind or you want yourself to join DHH. We just had our 10th anniversary last year, and yeah, let's make the future together. Thank you.